years of practice to read that.
Okay. Our second speaker today is Rich Briner. There is a process for getting the greatest improvement in the quickest amount of time. This is a process that Rich used to outspeak 25,000 people at the World Championship of Public Speaking in 2007. Would you like to know how to get the greatest improvement as a speaker in the quickest amount of time?
Yes, Rich. Sounds like fun.
Rich is here to tell us how. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome
Rich Briner.
Rich Briner. Oh boy. Okay. There I was in Hardee's talking to this new member of Toastmasters. It actually was November 1st, 2018. So I've known Eric Bakley for at least a year and a half. Somehow he decided that I was going to be his mentor in the club. Okay, that's fine. You don't have to meet with them too much. You just guide them through the rest of their lives. That's a piece of cake. But to be able to coach them on a specific goal in a short amount of time, which is really what coaching is and how it differs from mentoring, for me that is a challenge to do. So here was a man who had a goal. Eric Bakley wanted to win a speech contest. And I said, Eric, you're talking to the right guy. I've lost more speech contests than anybody in the state of Montana. I've lost more. There's no question about it. 39 years in Toastmasters, doing a contest every year except when I was area governor. You show. I know how to lose. Okay, so I also know how to win because slowly and slowly I got better. And so Eric is in the right place at the right time with the right guy to help him. He did his first speech in here called The Ghosts That We Face at Morningside Elementary School. And I happen to have the notes that I took when he gave that speech way back in November 1st, 2019. So that was a couple months ago, right? We have been working like once a week ever since over at Speaker One. Super One over there, meeting many times. And I discovered that Eric was a good candidate to be a coach, to be coachable, because he was a broadcaster, I learned. We didn't just talk about the speech, but I had to develop some rapport and find out a little bit about his background. One of the great strengths that you need to have is to get rapport. And I found out that not only does he have, 7 kids?
Correct.
7 kids. He has 2 jobs. He has a full-time 40-hour-a-week job, and then he does newspapers. He does 2 routes from 2 in the morning till 4 in the morning. He was even out there on Tuesday when it was 10 below 0. We didn't meet that day because I thought, I don't know what happened to him. But the point is, we met a lot of times. Here's what I discovered that I told him, because I couldn't remember if I didn't have these notes, in his first speech, some things that could be helpful to you if you are doing a speech that has storytelling in it. So I wrote down here, there was a moment in his speech trying to make it spooky over at Morningside Elementary School. There was a moment when he said, no one was there. And then he rushed off to the next line. And I said here, you need to pause. And you need to show appropriate facial expressions during your pause. So instead of just saying, no one was there, so I went down the hall, I asked him to say, no one was there. Facial expression, pause. Creating the mood, reliving the mood of the moment. That's something that all of us need to do whenever we tell a story. Second thing I told him was, he said something about a reference to the Hunger Games. And I thought, Hunger Games? What the hell are the Hunger Games? And I said to him, most people in my age bracket are not going to know what the Hunger Games are. And the younger people, it might just whiz by them. And so you need to dramatize that moment. And that's all I said. That's all I said to him. I don't know how he came up with the idea, but the next time he did the speech, he whistled the tune from the Hunger Games. How does it go? And it got a laugh then, even though it didn't now. But the idea was there. And here, this is an important point. I didn't tell him how to improve it. He, gaining more confidence, recognizing on his own, he did this. So it felt good that I could at least point him in the right direction, and he knew how to take charge of the situation. Does that sound like a good idea?
Yes, Rich, sounds like fun.
Yes, and I know you're well trained to answer that properly. Thank you. And so what else did I say to him that he took it? Oh, okay. So he was able to, we got some time left. I'll just say one more thing that I told him that could apply to you too. He said, Mrs. Hagan told me about the ghost and what happened to the former principal. And I said, no. You don't do it that way. You have to use some dialogue. Mrs. Hagan said, the ghost is Stanley. That's his name. Stanley is named after the former principal. Nobody knows what happened to him. Now there's dialogue. But he also, I asked him to change his voice, to exaggerate her voice. No one knows who she was, blah, blah, blah. So he's using vocal variety, he's adding humor, he's using dialogue. That's just in one simple little part of the story. There are other things we could say about it. If I have time to say one more thing that I told him that was good, that he needed to do. Oh, this is important. I told him to write out his friggin' speech. He's good that he's in broadcasting, so he taped himself automatically without me telling him. And so I said, you gotta write it out, word for word. Well, he'd come in every week, and I was disappointed. For a couple of weeks, he didn't do anything I said. It would be so easy to give up on this sucker. But I knew that he had 2 jobs, that he's working hard, he has hardly any spare time. And so I said, okay, when we meet, we're gonna sit down here, and I'm gonna do something else, and you're gonna transcribe your speech. So he sat there with me for 2 weeks in a row and transcribed his speech. We got it done. And he used that transcription to improve his next speech. And he did stuff that I never even told him. But it was based upon his seeing what he could do because he wrote out the speech. Some of the things that make great coaching and great speaking come together. Madam tells that.